applicant is here. So why don't you step right up to the mic and introduce yourself, and at least we'll start with knowing who it is and why, and go from there.
My name's Dan Sylvester. My wife Amy and our daughter Maria. I have a pawn shop in Biddeford currently, and I just think this is a great opportunity to have a location here in Waterboro. I see a lot of people coming from this way to all the way to Biddeford or to the next closest location, which would be Sanford. So I just feel like this would be a good place to have a pawn shop.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Can you, when do you plan, when do you plan to be open as far as days of the week and hours and stuff?
My business hours are Monday through Friday from 10 to 6, and Saturday 11 to 3, closed on Sunday.
And where will this be located?
134 Main Street, which is the, you know where Abbott's Power Sports is?
The old Taronis.
Right, the store, I think, got
Okay.
down a while back, they just rebuilt it.
Yeah.
The right side's set up to be a gas station convenience store, and the left side is the side that I'm interested in taking.
I'm concerned about what measures, what security measures you're going to take to ensure that this doesn't become a dumping ground for property that's been stolen.
Yeah.
I have a law enforcement background, and it concerns me that pawn shops, maybe wrongly or rightly, have this connotation attached to it that they deal a lot of times in questionable material that's brought in. I'd just like to know what kind of steps you're going to take to prevent that.
Yep, I mean, on top of there's a state ordinance for pawn shops, which is very vague, but there's also local ordinances, which I'm sure you're familiar with. The Waterboro ordinances would say that every day, at the end of the business day, we have to send our records to the local law enforcement agencies, and we also have to hold property for 7 days. So at the end of each business day, send a record over to them of all of our inventory we took in. And they then take that information and cross-check it with police reports for our stolen property. They can come in and take a look at the items and see if they match up, and if they do, they return those to the rightful owner.
Okay, do you videotape the sales transactions or take photocopies of operators' licenses or some means of identification?
I require state ID, and the program that I use is called high-tech pawn. It's a pretty high-tech system. Someone comes in, I take your ID, scan it, birth date, all that. When I send my report, not only do they have that information on the sheet, but it also sends over a photocopy of their driver's license on the report. So it'll say, you know, Dan Sylvester sold this item, description of the item, model, best I can describe it, along with serial numbers.
So the software automatically generates a report for you every day? Is that?
It doesn't automatically, I send it at the end of the day, because depending on some nights I might close at 5, or some nights I might be there till 6, if it's busy, 6:30, you know, so it really depends. But at the end of the day, I hit email and I send it over to whoever the detective, right now I'm Biddeford, I deal with one detective, I send him my reports through email, and then he takes those reports and he forwards them on to maybe Saco, Portland, Stanford, but I think in Waterboro I'd be dealing with the York County Sheriff's Office for that.
Right. I think the ordinance specifically says that by 10 a.m.
The
following day
right.
that it has to be in,
Yeah.
and it specifically states the York County Sheriff's Office.
Right, yeah.
Any?
How's business been in benefit?
It's been pretty good.
Is
I
it?
mean, with the economy the way it is, definitely a lot of people turning for, you know, small loans just to get mostly gas money to get by, you know, for the week, so
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
If someone brings something in, do you sit on it a certain period of time before you turn it around, or what's the arrangement?
Well, if it's a loan, I mean, we do collateral loans, so it's 30 days. So if you bring in an item for a loan, I would hold that for the minimum of 30 days. If you didn't pick it up, then on the 31st day, it would go out for sale. You could also come back on a loan. There's no hold period, so you could come back the next day and pick that up, and I give you your item back. When I buy something outright, there is a 7-day hold period before I can even alter it in any way or put it out for sale.
Okay, so the sales, you get 7 days, and if you put a loan down on it, you have at least 30 days.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Because I have to wait for the person to either come back or not come back for it. If they don't come back for it, the item's forfeited to us, and that's when we go out for sale.
doesn't appear to address it in our ordinance, but when someone, in essence, goes beyond that 30 days and then it becomes your property to sell, do you have to then again report that to the,
No, because at the end of, like, on the first day when that item comes in, that gets sent out in that report as well. So all my buys, that's called a pawn, so all my buys and pawns get sent that get sent that day,
so
but.
even though the category might change,
Right,
it's,
it's categorized as if by pawn and then buys on a sheet when they send it, so all the pawns are there and then all the buys are there as well. But no, I wouldn't send an additional report.
You're gonna be dealing in the sale of firearms as well?
No. Mostly electronics, power tools, jewelry. Don't really touch, not much for antiques or no firearms.
any other questions by anybody in the public? You have any questions for us? Yes.
No, not really. I went through the ordinance. It's almost word for word what I feel like right now.
I think we had a kind of a false start here a number of years ago, and that's when we put in place the ordinance and,
Yeah.
and whatnot, so.
Yeah, the state ordinance is very big. It's
Yep.
one report a month and no whole period on items, so you can definitely see the need for a local ordinance.
Have you had the opportunity to meet the contract deputy for the town of Waterboro yet?
I have not, no.
Just, I'm just looking at, if they're waiting for us to act on this, got a baby here and,
Yep.
and we can move that up.
So let's,
So I'm
let's,
sitting here for an hour and a half.
let's draw the public hearing to a close,
Okay.
and then I would entertain a motion to move new business item 1 up.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on moving it forward?
Are we closing the, oh, we don't need to vote to close it, okay. No, we're all set.
All right, so this vote is to move the item up to consideration now.
I will
Okay, so it's-
move that we,
It's been moved and seconded.
it has been moved and
All those in
seconded. Didn't hear
favor
it,
of
sorry.
moving it? Opposed? All right. Now I would entertain a motion. To discuss the vote to approve a pawnbroker's license for Waterboro Pawn and Gold to be located at 134 Main Street.
So moved.
Any discussion on that? Only question I have is that if that I know the building isn't finished, right? Does, if you do not work to a conclusion with that landlord, I would presume you'd have to come back here for a change of location?
Right.
So
Yep.
this is for that location
Right.
only, and you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
I would think that this might become a very busy place. And I know you have, and I appreciate your detailing, mentioning the safeguards for dealing with stolen property and that sort of thing. And you said you were closed all day Sunday and part of Saturday.
Right.
I wonder if there might be security concerns and would that impact the contract deputy and law enforcement and that sort of thing? I mean, obviously, if people know what is housed there, they know there are valuable items.
Yeah.
I don't know how you deal with that.
Basically, I use Mainstay Security for all my security, so they will be installing, obviously, a security system along with video surveillance, reports, and it's also set up like at my current location where I can watch it right from my house or right on my phone as well to record it 24/7. It's basically it's done for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's any different than any other business
Yeah,
in the
I know what else I
community
would
with regards to, certainly law enforcement has a responsibility should theft or burglary take place, but,
I can say that, and I've been in Biddeford for 2 years, and I mean, I do understand it's different because I'm on Main Street in Biddeford, and there's other places right there, but I haven't had any issues at all in 2 years, none whatsoever.
How would it impact the
He's works 40 hours for the town of Waterboro. He does his normal, and if something happened during his normal course of business, he would naturally respond to it, all right?
Otherwise, it would go to the sheriff's department.
Well, either that or it goes to the sheriff or the state police. So there's, we don't have other than his weekly contract that we have, when he's not on duty, it defaults to the sheriff's department or the state police. Any other questions?
I have one question just from my own knowledge. You mentioned that you have the ability to view that video from your phone. Is that also an option for law enforcement to key in and see that as well?
I'm not really sure. Sure, it could be set up. Good question. Probably have to get back to you on that. But
Okay.
I'm sure it could.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in the past,
It's not a deal breaker critical. I was curious because I thought that that'd be a really good tool for the
in the
contract
past, like,
deputy to have.
I mean, stuff comes in and they take it from me and I give them the paperwork who I got it from, and they might ask me for additional information. Would I make a copy for them of the tape of when the person came in to sell the item? I've done that in the past. But
I'm thinking if they're at the office and they had their phone up, they could kind of keep it.
What is the process, and we have to default to you, Gordon, but what is the process if somebody does take in stolen property? He doesn't know that, but, so he takes it and buys it or gives a loan, and then he sends it off to law enforcement and it hits. What is he?
Unfortunately, he's SOL.
that's part of this.
Oh, okay.
I lose my money that I gave on the item. So
Yeah,
that's
but
why
I mean,
try to-
from a law
It's the
enforcement
buyer
perspective,
beware type.
from a law enforcement perspective, are you then guilty of receiving stolen property?
No, as long as the paperwork's done correctly, I do the identification process correctly, submit them my records of who I got it from.
You have to be knowingly in receipt of stolen property. So there are elements to the crime where you'd have to prove that factor.
Yeah.
And there's state statutes as well that dictate what the pawnbrokers have to provide for information. And if they aren't providing that to law enforcement, then the owner of the business can be summoned for a violation of law.
Anything else, folks? Any questions? If not, and since we're ready to vote, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And we'll, I think if you stop by and see Christina tomorrow, she'll have
Okay.
everything that you need.
All right. Thank you.
Okay?
And welcome to the community and
Yeah.
Thank you.
for supporting the business here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, guys.
There is a
you.
Waterboro Area Business Association. You can probably get information on it from, I think Lakeside, or who's the president now?
Carrie DeAngelis.
Carrie DeAngelis, and she's not the president anymore?
Yeah, she is, I'm just not at all. She's
Oh,
my wife.
okay.
You don't want to do it.
I'll give Christina or an area guide
Okay.
so they can get familiar with the business association when they come in tomorrow.
Okay.
Welcome aboard.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks. All right, running and ready to announcements. The big announcement that you should all be aware of that are out there viewing is absentee ballots are available for the November 6th general election. The deadline, which is set by the state for voting absentee, or I guess you could call it for
Early voting.
early voting, is November 1st at 5 p.m. So you have 2 days left to come in here and vote for the November 6th election. As of 5 p.m. on Thursday evening, that process will cease to be an opportunity, and you'll have to wait until Tuesday, the 6th, when the polls open at 7 a.m. at the middle school. And just so everybody is aware, the polls will be open at 7 a.m. At the middle school, and will close at 8 p.m. Next Tuesday evening at the middle school. So, any other announcements?
We still need to get 20 people there, so anybody that wants to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning.
25.
25, yeah. So,
Probably won't be a problem in this election, but we'll see. You never know. Okay, The only other thing is I'm sure that we probably saw a little uptick in water in Ospey Lake. Knowles is supposed to be there this week to treat the exterior of the dam. And the gates, do we know whether they're on their way? Or?
They are finished.
They're finished, okay. So, looks like we will be handling that, and we'll discuss that further in the meeting here. We have one appointment that has been canceled this evening by Fire Chief Wars. After much discussion, we gave him the night off. Hearing a delegation. Anybody out there that would like to address the board that isn't on the agenda? Correspondence, just quickly, the Treasurer's Weekly Financial Reports, Representative Libby's newsletter. There is a confidential letter from the town attorney with regards to a lawsuit, and there is a copy of a correspondence from Owens McCullough from Sebago Technics to the DEP, and that is in reference to a discussion that took place last week, 10/25, at a meeting at the dam, or I should say the water level control structure at the end of Ospey Lake. Reports and staff of initiatives. Assessing Agent Jerry Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We should have 3 abatements to review tonight. The first one is the letter that you have dated October 17th to Thomas and Melvin Montgomery. I'm recommending in that letter to them and to the board that the abatement be denied based on the letter that you have, which is dated October 17, 2012.
Okay, so what's your pleasure on the first one, folks?
Make a motion to accept the Assessors Agent recommendation and deny the abatement request.
I'll second that.
Any discussion, clarification? All those in favor? Opposed? 1320, Jerry?
I'm sorry? The next one?
Yeah, the next one.
Next one is 1320, abatement for the Sally and Jean Warren. This abatement involves land that is isolated, 7.3 acres near the RSU Elementary School on West Road. It borders Hamilton Brook. Its access appears unknown. I reviewed the deeds dated September 1993, yes. And I could find no answers. The assessed value prior to the reval was $7,800. That kind of gives us a clue, at least of the historic data. You're paying a tax of $175. If the board agrees and we remove the vacant house valuation that was placed on there during the reval, it'll drop the value of the lot to about $14,600, and the tax on that would be much less and probably much more fair. That's the.
So I guess the question is how did a vacant lot value get plugged onto this if it had been previously just shown as a unusable water lane?
There's no real answer to that, Mr. Chairman. I think it's just sometimes it becomes an automated thing in the haste of the moment. So it was something that probably got by us.
Now, it says it's the RSU Elementary School in West Road.
Oh, it's
What are we talking here? What
no,
school?
it's not the elementary school. It's what was the old middle school, the freshman academy, right?
Okay. Does this property have any road frontage, Jerry?
No, that's not. There's a map attached with that, and it's circled, and it's behind the Ricker Lane established area. If you go down the end of Ricker Lane and you run into that wet area, it's across that, and then it borders the school property. I think access might have been something that someone thought they had back in the early days. But reviewing the deeds in that area, it's completely isolated on the north side of the brook, and I don't see an access at all.
Okay. Are we gonna handle these individually, or?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay. I move that we, grant this abatement.
I'll second that
1320.
also.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And let's move on to 1321.
1321. This property, an abatement was filed, along with a listing of area home values, if you will, most of which were not usable for the intent of comparing homesteads or home properties. I did review the valuation report that the owner also reviewed and made corrections. The corrections that were made, and you should have that valuation report in front of you, they indicated to me that these were warranted corrections, if you will, and merely correcting that, three items: a wet basement, the finished basement area is a consideration. Swimming pool that's been there for 25 years. In the system that we have, deserves more depreciation, obsolescence, if you will, there. And an adjustment for the, again, the use of the wet basement. That then transfers into the abatement that you have, which is 1321, reducing the assessed value from $268,000 to $227,700. That would be the building only. $34,400 is the correction amount. The abatement on this would be $435.20.
And so, question I have is they've asked for a $68,000 abatement, and you've come back with a $34,400, right?
That's correct. I be honest with you, the study that was done, it's about 3 pages, I believe you have it. It did not highlight enough detail to be able to say that, yeah, they are comparable with the other ranches, or they're not comparable. If it were in a subdivision area where the houses are pretty comparable, when you got a Cape Cod, you can compare it, capes, ranches with ranches, colonials. In this case, it's not that easy. And there's a big age difference in all of these that were. So I felt it was only fair to both parties, the town and the property owner, that we made the adjustments and the corrections.
Okay, where is this property on the map?
The map 4 lot 1C, I should have circled that, or hash.
And 1C is circled.
Did I circle it? Yeah, it's circled with hash marks. Top of the page, almost to the left. All right, your top, my top.
So I guess from a logistics or whatever, procedural step, if we grant a partial abatement, I would presume they would take that as a decline in their request, right? I mean, do they have a right to appeal that decision?
Yes.
So I guess we would just move to approve what you've recommended, and that all kind of gets wrapped up in that.
They would get a letter, board's decision, and the opportunity to carry it further to the Board of Appeals.
And that corrected valuation is based on 2007 prices?
Yes, it is. It's the revaluation figures, right?
So what's your pleasure on?
Question, the lot size of this comparable to these other 9 lots? I mean, are they all the
We
same?
didn't consider it because the homeowner indicates that it's, she was only interested in the building value. They're pretty much not contesting the value of the land.
Okay.
Okay, it's your pleasure.
I'll move to accept the jury's recommendation.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Okay,
That's it,
anything else, Jerry?
that's it for the night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Item 2, Parks and Rec Director.
Hi,
Step right up.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Before Mike gets started on this,
Oh.
I'm going to abstain from the discussion on this one.
Well, what do we,
Vote.
let's work our way into that.
Well, before we even
I
get
have a report to give, do I not? Or
Yes.
are we just going right into the meat and potatoes?
No, you have a report, so.
Incredibly busy time of year for us, always the busiest time of year. We had Haunted Town Hall the other night, we had a wonderful time. We served 325 cups of fruit punch and 13 pounds of nachos. And those were the chips, I guess the cheese dip, I didn't weigh it, but there was a lot of it. And what speaks to Halloween more than nachos?
Yeah. Right up there on
Maybe.
Candy corn.
Maybe, yes. We had a fun time, good night, great help from volunteers and some paid staff here as well, and we've been doing it every year. And we didn't advertise it this year, and we had the same turnout we always have, so it was a fun time, look forward to doing it. Very lucky to have Kerry DeAngelis willing to brave the basement for 30 hours prepping. So bear with us while we clean up, Pete's been very good to us too. Takes a little while to clean up. 30 hours to set up, an hour and a half to run it, and 50 hours to clean it. So it's kind of a weird breakdown, but I think the community really likes it, so we like doing it. Basketball's up and running. I just got through organizing 16 teams of kids. We had 12 teams only last year. We had 16 teams the year before. I don't really attribute it to anything other than just the way the flow goes. We had an old crowd last year in the league, a lot of 6th graders, so they graduated out. We've still got 4 teams in the 5th and 6th grade league, but our younger group has really exploded on us. So we've got 6 teams in a little tight 1st and 2nd grade league, and we've got 6 teams in the 3rd and 4th grade league. So we're getting started. I've got coaches showing up tonight, picking up balls in their rosters, and we've got practices starting this weekend at both gyms, at the elementary school and at the middle school. So we'll be busy every weekend right through March, starting this Saturday. Cheering is also doing very well. We sold that out too. We got like 20, 22 girls signed up for cheering. They'll be getting started Friday night with their first practice. We've got our last luncheon of the year on Thursday, next Thursday, a week from Thursday, a week from tomorrow. It's the WAB sponsored luncheon, the Waterboro Association of Businesses sponsored luncheon, turkey dinner. And we collect $5 for fuel assistance on that day as well. WAB's really done a nice job providing the town with some fuel assistance money. And let me back up actually a second with basketball. We had a clinic on Saturday to get started for anybody that was registered for our program. And we had the varsity boys coach show up and the varsity girls coach show up, as well as all the middle school coaches, the JV coaches. And they ran a free clinic for all the kids in our program. We started at 10 a.m. with the 1st and 2nd graders, and then the 11th, 3rd, and 4th graders came in, and then the 12th, the 5th, and 6th graders came in, and we collected $5 donations for Team Pearl, and they showed up too. So it was nice to see Pearl looking good, feeling healthy, and her dad and her sister, and they participated in the clinic, and we raised over $230 for them. And they already took home the money, so we hope that really helps. We like doing that kind of stuff, certainly. Mention the luncheon, that's on next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. That'll be our last luncheon of the year. We'll get back with that in May. The 2nd Thursday in May, we'll be starting up again. We did a casino trip 2 weeks ago on Wednesday up to Oxford Casino. We had a bus load of adults go up there. We left at 9:30. We got back here at like 4 o'clock. We spent a couple hours in the casino. It was a pretty nice day. Had lunch afterwards. Last Wednesday we went to have lunch over in Portland, and then we went and saw a movie at Cinemagic in Westbrook. We all saw Argo. It was pretty good. We got back at like 6 o'clock at night from that. And then at the end of November, right after Thanksgiving, we're doing a bus trip to Victoria Mansion over in Longfellow Square, which they deck out for the holidays, which we wanted to go to last year, but they had sold it out and we missed it. So very busy, fun time of year, and we'll be wrapping up our rec programs right before Christmas, and in the interim, in the middle of November, we'll start up with our travel basketball stuff, which will keep us busy right through March. Any questions about?
Did you go to the casino, Mike?
Say again?
Did you go up to the casino?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I drove.
What's your impression?
I liked it. I liked it. I'm not a big casino fan either. It was very clean. It didn't give me. I've been to Foxwoods a few times, and just, you know, you get that deteriorating sense of, you know, whether it's the public or the grounds itself. Beautiful new building. I mean, even just driving up there, it's a nice road. It's only 50 miles door to door. So we took, geez, I don't know, they made me go. I was going one way, they made me turn around and go another way, but it was about an hour and 15-minute trip. We took the Poland Spring shortcut road, 50 miles right on the nose. It's nice. There's a lot of cheap games. There's penny slots, and there were $5 tables, and it certainly wasn't a high stakes type of thing. Maybe it was the timing. It's a Wednesday morning, you know, but it wasn't super crowded, and we kind of left it open. We got there and we said, is 2.5 hours enough? And they were like, yeah. So we said, all right, we'll meet back in the lobby in 2.5 hours, and we jumped back on the bus and went down the road and all had lunch together. I liked it, I really did. And you know, there's poker machines that are cheap, 5 cents, 10 cents. You can spend some time there and not spend a lot of money if you're conservative. So I was pretty impressed. What else? Oh, cross country. We got to congratulate the Mustang state champs. I think a boy from Freiburg Academy, actually, if I'm not mistaken, was the runner-up in the state of Maine in the individual competition. Pretty impressive performance by him. Ran a time under 16 minutes, which is like, you know, that's like nationwide ability right there. So I saw that on the chart and thought of David about that. So we got a lot of stuff going on. Anything else about rec?
You had a couple openings on Funergy that you
Yep.
were hoping to fill up.
Yep, haven't filled them yet. Have a bunch of calls coming in. Maybe I'll put something in the paper if we don't fill that up before Thanksgiving, and we'll see if we can get somebody in that. Like to have 30. Got 27 on the roster right now. Not hurting us, but wouldn't be the worst thing for us. And it's been a nice program, and we've had a couple of recent people that needed us in an emergency, which is nice. That's one thing I always like us to be able to do. We get a phone call. You know, I got a phone call at 8 o'clock at night. I'm in a jam. I didn't realize that I can't pick, you know, I got to leave the house at 6 a.m. Can you take the kids? Sure. And they dropped them off at 7. We bussed them over ourselves that day. They were able to pick them up, so we didn't have to do that. So they kind of got a free little trial run to see what we're about. And I've had a few calls over the last 10 days or so from people interested, but nobody's landed a slot yet. Okay? Want to move on to the salary thing here?
Sure.
I gave you guys a little email there, and I printed out, trying to save some paper. I'm going to give you a big sheet of paper. This is the salary scale, basically, that I kind of tried to stick to the best of my ability. I'll give you a little boss it too. And I just want to keep it simple. And what happens is we hire people when they turn. We can't hire anybody that's under 16 years old for a counselor position. So I like to have young staff on board, and certainly our head counselors are normally adults. And if you look next door with Funergy, you see a lot of adults over there, because certainly kids are in school and they can't come work that slot. So the big piece for me, what's happening is we have folks come and join our staff when they're young, and they start off at minimum wage, and it's just very difficult for me to give them a semi-legitimate pay rate when I'm 2%ing them up the ladder, so to speak. And then somebody with, you know, a college degree or an adult comes in, and I want to start them off at $9 or $10 an hour. And a good example of it is the boat launch job. it's essentially state mandated at $11 per hour. So we have somebody kind of walk in the door and work the boat launch for us and make more money than everybody on my staff, and it kind of creates a bad taste, so to speak. The bus driver slot at the top is another mandated thing, essentially. These folks make $17, $18 an hour driving for the school. They're tested regularly with stress tests and drug tests and eye tests, and have to take their driver's test again. And well, actually, this is the staff that's currently on board with us right now, if you want to take a look at that. So you can kind of see who the bus drivers are that drive for us in the summertime. That come back and they like those part-time hours. We've got 6 or 8 weeks of summer camp, and we have one driver that'll drive 3 or 4 days a week, and we were actually able to utilize another driver this year because our swim program was so large that we had to use the big bus to drive from camp up to Lake Arrowhead's pool, which worked out great for us because the road's paved now and we were able to do that. So I've kind of got that top end scale for bus driver at 15. Our maintenance man makes 11, he's been with us a long time, likes doing what he does, and doesn't really complain about what he makes, which we like. And we had a great performance out of Doug, our boat launch guy, this year. Looks forward to coming back next year. Our camp director is our summer day camp director over at the elementary schools, like a 6-week gig. We like to keep that in the same line as the maintenance job and the boat launch job, so we get that good feeling out of that. And then swim's another specialized position. We need a water safety instructor to do that, WSI, or a lifeguard, a trained lifeguard to do that, and those kind of go hand in hand. If you're a lifeguard, you can become a water safety instructor, or you can do it in the reverse and be, you can get your lifeguard badge through us, in fact, by going to our water safety instructors. That's a specialized position there too. And then camp staff, that's our junior counselors, and some of them are high school kids in their senior year. You figure they turn 16 maybe in their junior summer there, and we like to hire, we like to hire 1 or 2 of them and see if they can stay with us throughout college. And if you look at the chart there, there's several people on there that you probably recognize that have been with us since they're 16 and now they're in their senior year of college, and 2%ing them up the ladder is making it difficult. So essentially we had a $100,000 budget last year for staff payroll, and we spent about $95,000 of it. So approving 2% of that would mean that we were willing to spend $2,000 more on that line item. Well, if I 2%ed all my staff, that would be the case, but as you can see, we've maxed out the bus driver piece, the maintenance piece, and a lot of the other stuff. And working 8 weeks a year doesn't necessarily qualify a person for a yearly raise. So what's happened is that turnover of 2-3 years there comes about, and now I've got a qualified college student that's got CPR under their belt and is taking early childhood education, working on a teacher's degree, and suddenly I look at them and I feel like they're underpaid. So in the memo that I sent to you, I wanted to address 2 of my staff that have been very important. Certainly the one of them that's making $9.25 right now is my most critical staff member. We were on the phone at 4 a.m. today. What's going on? School canceled? No, it's not canceled yet. And she's driving over from Newfield to open our building up at 5:40 in the morning. And this is why I brought this to your attention, because I wanted to bump her up to, I believe, $10 an hour was the request, which if you approve that would still keep us under the $2,000, and the full 2% that would equal our full payroll amount from last fiscal year.
Comments? You're out, right?
I'm out.
Gordon?
I think $10 is ridiculous for what she does. It should be larger than that, but if you're asking for the $10, then I would certainly be in agreement to that. Overall, these are pretty low figures.
Yeah, I agree. And we got ourselves into a difficult situation a few years ago with budgets being cut and the economy not being very good, so, and everybody in the building had the same thing happen to them too, so it really wasn't a situation, I don't think, from any department to have to kind of come up in front of you guys and say, look, this is gotten to a point where it's difficult. But when you folks approved the 2% across the board raises for all staff last year, I felt like my only recourse was to latch on to that amount. You know, 2% of 100,000, my full staff payroll number is $2,000. So I wanted to slant it towards my most important staff member. You know, does she deserve more? I think $10.50 would probably be more appropriate for a person that, you know, like I said, we're on the phone at 4 a.m. And we're talking to each other at 10 o'clock last night, and she asked me talk to the superintendent of schools yesterday afternoon, and it was a tricky morning for us certainly. But we're getting into the season where I can't live without her. There's just no doubt about it. So.
You know, I'm thinking that you're in the middle of a budget year, so, and that's one thing that keeps it down.
Right.
On the other hand, you could go this rate here and look starting next summer or next year, jacking it up to a rate that is probably more reasonable. So, you know, but this, you know, in the middle of the year, you gotta, I mean, we've hounded you on this in the past, and we got to maintain that budget, so it has an effect on what we're able to give.
Right. We did adjust the payroll line item for my department down a little bit, but we adjusted the expense item that we spoke about last meeting, David, before we ran out of here from an earthquake, that essentially pays all the bills, whether it's the Funergy bill or whether it's the fun town trips and so forth. So we essentially stayed the same year over year with those two accounts. The payroll will be potentially a little bit more than the item that we did, but I think that the payment scale for all the expenses, the program expense line item, is going to be fine. So, and also, John, to your point, since we're already several months into the year, I think that we'll be able to stay under that $2,000 number if we can get these raises in place now for the next, we got 5-6 months left in the fiscal year. Certainly the department is, I'm sorry.
No, I don't have any question. I feel that Tammy certainly couldn't vote on one of them. Well, we don't have to take them up together, we can take them individually. Unless she wants to.
No, that would be fine.
Let me just kind of my 2 cents, all right?
Yep.
Not 2%, my 2 cents. I'm not sure that anybody is holding your hands to only giving an individual employee 2%. That being said, you need to put together a wage scale that is a little bit more complex than this, okay?
That's about as complex as I can be.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you should come in here saying, I have this person, and if that person is due an increment this year of 75 or 80 or $1,
Yep.
then that has to be in your plan,
Okay.
okay? Because we don't know we don't know the qualifications of your employees. We don't know that you might have to bring somebody in at a higher qualification in the spring, right? All we're looking at is a gross number of this is what the salary is. So you need to be able to say, this is what I need for salaries, and that already has built into it, you know, somebody that's going to get more than a 20-cent raise.
Right. The
Okay.
tricky part is when I have staff that only works 8 weeks a year, 300 hours.
But it does, you know, it doesn't, I don't think it should matter whether they work, 20 hours a week, 10 hours a week, or you know what the number is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you need to peg in that, okay, I've got X people at this rate.
Understood.
And somebody, if they stay, are gonna jump to another rate sometime during that fiscal year, right?
Yeah.
So I think that has to be built a bit into you, rather than coming back again next year after 4 or 5 months are done and saying, oh,
Yeah.
I really need to bring this person up.
Right.
You know?
I don't want to disagree with you. It's not disagreement. this meeting has occurred because when we went through my budget,
Yeah.
it was stated by the board that 2% raises are going to be held to all the employees.
Right, so, and
Which
I, and I
in
don't
normal-
I
in
don't disagree
normal-
with you,
okay.
but if somebody is in line for in this side of the building, if somebody's in line for a step
Mhm.
because of seniority, or longevity, or whatever we wanna call it, that's already built into the fact that they're gonna get that step, okay? The 2% raise is basically on the base.
Yeah.
So I think you gotta build that in, and yes, I don't see anything change this year, right? We're probably gonna hang some number like that on this budget season.
Yeah.
I think you have to take the whole, and you got a whole hodgepodge of soup here, right?
It's a little tricky.
So I think you need to say, hey, this is where I start people,
Yeah.
right? And I think a very simple index of, hey, somebody's coming in as
Entry level.
an
Yeah.
entry level, then they
Nancy
start
and
at
I-
this, right?
Nancy and I spoke about it actually this
Yep.
summer. I hired 2 new staff members, and I submitted the paperwork with different rates, and I got a phone call saying, why? And I went, well, I've got one individual that's a high school senior that is a good kid and has volunteered a lot of time with the department in a variety of aspects. Now she's applying for a job. I'm excited to have her. So I wanted to pay her this rate. And then I have another individual that's a junior in college, taking early childhood education, and is CPR certified. So that's why I stepped her up.
And I think you could build some
By
of that,
about-
you can build some of that stuff, and it's like
That's how you
your
build
swim,
scale.
your swim instructor.
Yeah,
If you're not certified, you can't be a swim instructor,
exactly.
right?
I can
So,
sink with the best.
so you can put into that scale, and if you are certified, it's worth X amount per hour,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same as the bus drivers,
Yes.
if you're in the the DOT drug testing policy, you gotta be in the policy,
Yes,
right?
yes. In
You
fact, one
can't
of
just
us,
say,
right.
let's go get Joe to drive the bus, because
Yeah.
he'll do it for $10 an hour, right?
Yeah, that's turned into a nice thing. You know one of the drivers very well, actually. He's a good guy, and that's turned into a nice thing because they know we're here and they talk amongst themselves. We've actually had the same driver for many years. She wasn't able to do it this year. So the secondary driver, who only I needed like 2 days a week, stepped into the full-time driver's role. And I basically held the line on that bus driver pay scale for the last several years. So I appreciate your patience with it. It's a tough game. And then the minimum wage goes up from time to time too. And then I'm looking at it going, boy, she's making 25 cents above minimum wage, and I just hired this other individual, and they talk and they go,
John.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
wonder
mean,
why.
I look at this and you say, okay, you've got, let's say, Funergy, and you got high school, or camp, rather. High school starts at this and peaks out here. First year high school student, second year high school student. College starts out here, ends here. And you look at, and you know this, but I look at Funergy director. I don't know how much responsibility goes with that job, but if it's responsible for 3 or 4 people working for you and staying late if a kid parents don't show up and that stuff, and there's some responsibility there, then maybe it needs more than $1 more an hour than the Funergy staff.
Yeah.
So then you look at someone that is very important to you. Maybe that person should be making closer to $14, $15 an hour because they're taking the responsibility for that program.
It's that's why I'm here, essentially. I wanted to try to stay under a $2,000 base this year because our bottom line budget number came down to $2,000. Now I'm adding $2,000 to it. That's giving me a $5,000 gap there. We spent $3,000 on signs last year, so we're okay. Year over year, it should be the same. And I
So
spent-
all that being said, not to belabor this,
Can I go sit down? No.
why don't we, if we break this up, we can at least deal with Tammy Jo in on one of them anyway. So why don't we, I'd entertain a motion that addresses the first request,
So,
Second.
which is the 7. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? And I will entertain a motion on the second request.
So
Second.
Any discussion?
One point, I don't want it to appear that I just willy-nilly are giving the town's money away by saying that I don't think that $10 is adequate, and I was advocating for more, but I tend to have to agree with John that this year's budget is set and we gotta live within those parameters.
Right.
But I also agree with Dennis, although the word complicated might be better if the word were comprehensive pay scale, where you take into those things the considerations that we were discussing, so that you can make adjustments to bring them up to what they should be. And then when the town has a 2% across the board raise, that goes, it fits in with everything else.
Right, right. I think when I prepare my budget this year, I should provide you guys with, first of all, the payroll number year over year. It's larger than 95, actually, when you factor in maintenance isn't in there either, and neither is boat launch, neither is me. Although my salary is, when you guys do that across the board, that's taken care of. But really, it's probably more like $150,000 in payroll from the Parks and Rec department. So if we're gonna use 2% on that, that's gonna be $3,000 this time.
But you can't take and pick and choose of which one
Right.
you wanna come from, right? That's
Well,
what I'm saying.
exactly.
I think comprehensive is the correct word. There should be something that, as we get into this budget season, that says, hey, this is the whole mishmash that I've got, right? And this is the number that I'm looking for.
Okay.
And then we don't get into this kind of discussion midway through the year, because you either have or you haven't got room to move.
Understood.
You might have somebody that you haven't hired, right? So you
Very
got,
likely that'll happen in
so
June.
that doesn't mean that you can't work some of those things.
Right, right. That'll be another tricky piece. I'm gonna get into May. I'm gonna need staff, generally 1 or 2 per year. And I wanna get you guys that list of where we're at, what the qualification should be, the CPR certification, add to that base pay, etc.
John?
I am liaison to the rec committee of one, which does not meet on a regular basis. But I guess I would be happy to hear in some way, whether you come up with a little more comprehensive plan and run it through me before you go to Nancy, or
Sure.
you go to Nancy with it, run it through her and see how I handle it, and can I support it coming in here. And any way you do that, I'd be happy to be a step in
I
that.
appreciate that. I will do that. I'll start with you. When Nancy doesn't yell at me first.
So any other discussion on this second motion? Sensing none, all those in favor? Opposed, abstained. All right. Anything else, Michael?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See, it wasn't too painful and it didn't take a long time.
Took 3 months.
Okay. Let's move on. Community garden report, Conservation Commission report, cemetery, anybody?
That's the one that they're gonna do next week.
They're gonna do it next week?
Right, as Billy said.
Everybody's on next week?
Yep.
Okay. Road Commissioner.
You're moving slow, Doug.
What do you want to know tonight?
I don't know, I'll have to, I gotta make some comment, for Chief Boers. Young man like that couldn't muster to come up here tonight because he was worn out from the event, so you ought to have a phone call with him tomorrow.
Yeah?
We had a discussion about Knowles, well, no, not a discussion about Knowles. What ended up happening with him yesterday? You called me in the morning.
Yeah. And I went up and met with them. And it was raining,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided that probably they want the day to be there working on it. So they're gonna come back. They finally got their, we're all on the same page.
Okay, we got all the,
They were confused. I don't know how they could possibly have been confused, but they thought I was gonna put the gates on, I guess, which they clearly knew that we wasn't gonna put the gates on. And after I said you were going to
blast the outside with high pressure water, then you're gonna wait for it to dry, and then you're gonna clean it again, and then you're gonna put the epoxy on. The epoxy is going to be something to the tune of a few mils thick, 2 coats. So he said there'll be very little difference between the original surface of the dam that's of, let me rephrase that, flow control structure, not the dam. Chadman's Ridge Road is the dam. What we have is a flow control structure. We had to point that out to the DEP the other day because, well, it had complications. But we're going to do that around the outside. Then we're gonna put the gates on, we're gonna plug the hole in the dam, then we're gonna sandbag the inside of the flow control structure, pump it down, and then they're gonna do the work on the inside. They're gonna do the metal part at the same time they do the outside. With the concrete, they're gonna wait and let it dry. So once we put the gates on, we can bring the water back, let it start coming back up to the winter level, and hopefully they'll have all their work done.
All right.
Right? We met with the DEP, you got a report on that?
Yep. Well done, I might add, but it was nice to have Owens there.
When it was all said and done, they didn't seem to have any problems, they couldn't see. There was a report turned in to them that we bored a hole under the so-called dam. I have no idea how that would have originated, but that's what they said. So, we had a storm, didn't turn out to be too awful bad. We had some trees down, we've got everything's opened up, almost everything has been, we took pickups with the blades on and pushed the stuff out, and then we took brooms and swept it afterwards. So tomorrow we're gonna start on the cleanup, loading this stuff out. I told the boys today, there seems to be a great need for wood, most of this stuff is hardwood. I said, we're gonna leave the wood beside the road, and anybody that wants it can come get it, and we'll haul off the brush. You know, save us trucking it and doing all that. There seems to be people enough out there willing to pick it up, as long as they don't go to somebody that's selling it. I think that works good, unless you guys got objections, ladies and gentlemen. I think that, you know, if people wanna come pick it up, they ought to have it. Everything else is going along pretty good. The gates for the dam are complete. They will be delivered next Monday morning. The old gates will be returned to us so that we can dismantle them and sell them for scrap or hold on to them or do whatever we want to do with them. Try to market them to somebody else or whatever your desire is to do with them, but they are bringing them back. They will not be able to be installed next week because Knowles will not be done. We're going to take a few sunny days in a row for them to complete this project. So we told the DEP we thought 2 weeks would be the average time.
Okay.
And I see you have something on there about the gates.
The old road gates at the boat launch, I would presume,
Yeah.
is that the gates or is that the?
No, some years ago, we had gates that blocked the boat launch off from the parking area. People could go down in there. One of them was taken down and thrown up on the bank. The other one's been wound around there. One's up on the other end, the bent, and it's not a very pretty looking situation. And, you know, with our effort to beautify the area, they should either be fixed, rebuilt, and if you're gonna block that area off, use them. If they're not, we should, you know, just take them out. I pulled one of the posts out yesterday. We took in lieu of the storm coming, and when they were talking a lot of water, we went up and took the boat planks that were left, we lined them up along the beach to create a dam, so we wouldn't erode the beach into the lake, and divert the water down to the new boat ramp to save on erosion. We cleaned up to the left-hand side of the boat launch to stop the stuff from washing over onto it, and cleaned the top off. So now, I guess we can pick them up. I had some thoughts about taking those, if you had any money in your budget. It's been brought to my attention that we need to do something out here for the solar bullets. I thought maybe we could take those and lay them down, but you've got to put a piece of 1 by 12 plate steel on top of them, like we did when we built the ones down to the where the containers are, down to the transfer station. So if we had 4 pieces of steel and laid those planks out here, we got a good solid base for the solar bullet. That's something you can think about and discuss it and whatever at some future time, but that would be a use for them. Okay?
So getting back to the gates,
Yeah.
they don't ever get, I can't even remember the last time I saw them in
Well, they're not
use.
up. One's up and one's down. I'd like to take them out.
Well, I was gonna say, we don't use them, why do we have them? Pull them out.
Yeah.
And that would be my thought.
And if you go down to the town garage, we got that rolling gate down there that's been a problem for years. It's a killer. It's a killer trying to close that thing. It's been run into so many times, it's off and on, and not only that, when you pull up there, especially in the wintertime, you have to sit in the middle of the road, get out and open the gates, and anybody coming down over the road easily can run into the back. I've seen several times where people swerve around us because we're parking. And if you've noticed in my pits, my gates all sit in 75 to 100 feet off the road, so you could pull in and get out of your vehicle. So I'd like to take these gates up here and see if we could patch them up. I think that with a little bit of work, they'd be good usable gates, and put them down to the town garage as new entrance gates and move them in so that we can pull off the road. I think it would be a good use of recycling something that we already have at, not too much money.
So can we take a vote on that tonight?
I'm open for motion.
I make a motion that the gates be taken down and used as fit by the road commissioner at the town garage.
Second.
Is that a point of order where we have to have a motion to add it to the agenda first, or?
Well, we're discuss what to do with the old gate, so it is on the agenda.
Okay, no, I just
So,
want to make sure we're doing it all right.
There's a partial one up there too, it's bent up pretty bad on the top side, and I thought that we could take that and use it to mitigate on one of the other openings that the clubs use, where we have to have a narrow gate in the summertime and a wider gate in the winter. We could take that smaller one that's bent up and possibly put it up there to use it just in the wintertime and close it up, and we could stop people from lugging in the rest of this, junk in there, but that to go along with that. They'll all be used on the town property right there, so.
so it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, the other thing was discuss and vote to appropriate funds received from the wood clearing at the town pit and transfer station for the management plan, I guess if you would, for the rest of the balance of the property up there.
So moved.
Second.
Did you see the email that I sent Christina that said we would take the balance of that money and use it on other, is that acceptable if we go ahead and do that on other properties?
Yeah.
I mean, seems to be a good thing to do.
What do we have for properties?
We get the rest of that property.
I've started getting a map out with, we have 3 or 4 parcels that we could probably use it on.
I thought it would just be something that with your approval, that Nancy and I would just go over and have him take a look at it and see if it was worthwhile to do anything. If it isn't worthwhile, we won't hire him, that's all. But it's a good use of the money, I think.
Would it be
I think it'll pay for itself many times over, so.
Would it be appropriate to rephrase the motion? Because as I understand it, it's just to pay for the land management thing, and they're including the other thing in there too.
This would be all land.
No, it would all be proposed forest management plan for the,
Okay, I thought it was just that $500 that we were talking. The fee for the forester or something?
No, it's to appropriate the funds that we received from the wood clearing at the
Right.
town pit.
This first
one would be the
$500 credit. What we would do is we'd actually get no money, we'll just leave the money sit right there and have him, we'll hire him and take credits out of what he's got.
discussion or clarification? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Anything else, Doug?
No, I guess unless you have something else,
We're,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I don't want to belabor it or beat a dead horse here, but I think that it deserves more mention about what the town has done with the flowage management system up there, it's the so-called dam, that there are parties in town that have either been stirring the pot or, trying to make, that we did something inappropriate here all along. And, it kind of sticks in my craw because, we have been very meticulous in looking at this. We followed the wishes of the townspeople on their vote at town meeting on the level to drop that water down. We've taken steps to ensure that that would take place. We've practiced due diligence on every step of the way. We've contacted engineers, had reports from them, and I think it's important to note that DEP was in concurrence with what we were doing up there, that it was needed maintenance, and that they didn't see that we did anything whatsoever improper. And I think that that's just a testament to the discussions that we've had here as a board and the cooperation we've had with the road commissioner. And I just feel that needs saying at this point.
Are they, pardon me, Gordon, but is the DEP going to respond to Owens' letter?
I don't believe so. I think they just wanted something.
To do.
Yeah.
Well, but I
think she wanted
Gordon, I think you
something.
bring up a great issue, right? I mean, because so many times people are all, well, we did this and we did that and whatnot, and I think you're absolutely right. As we discovered things had to be done, I think we did not do that willy-nilly. In fact, probably to the displeasure of Doug, we waited an inordinate amount of time before we decided that poking a hole in the front of that dam was the necessary thing to get down to 3 feet. So
And
he would have done it 3-4 weeks earlier, but the fact of the matter is, I think, we've got engineering studies that said we didn't affect the structure of the dam and the water level control mechanism. So I think that you're right. And I just thought maybe if the DEP does respond, there might be an opportunity for us to then at least exploit that a little bit with where we were.
I didn't get the feeling that she was going to respond. She wanted something so when she got the phone calls, she would, have the information right there.
they did think that the comments that was indirectly directed to them about this milfoil swimming upstream was, kind of ludicrous. That was about as, unwelcome as anything you could see. I mean, I just don't think that stuff does not have a life. I mean, it is not something that is capable of swimming against the tide. And we've got flow going out of the structure.
And she went right down to look at it too.
Yeah,
Right
we
down
went
there.
over on the other side, and they wanted to know if we were gonna do anything to, try to stop milfoil from getting into the lake. They're concerned about it, about milfoil and the spread of milfoil. And what was his name? The guy? Don't matter. He said, well, he said it's proven that if they let these lakes down to an appropriate level and get a freeze and freeze milfoil, that is the best way of eliminating milfoil, is to freeze it. So he said, people around this lake should be happy to see the water level down where it would get frozen if there was any and killed. So that's about the first DEP official I've heard come right out and say that.
Ask him to put that in the writing.
But anyway, I think they were overall pretty happy. When they got all done, they said, we can't see any other alternative other than coring a hole. And we should call it coring, because that's what we did. We cored a hole in the end of the dam, which is a common procedure. We core manholes and catch basins on a weekly, if not daily basis, okay? So they were more than happy with what we'd done, and, you know, I think they just realized that there's somebody here trying to cause great discomfort amongst the board and Nancy and myself. And Nancy put together a very good package of everything that was voted on, the request by the Lake Association to lower it, and then we explained to them that this is the first time since that policy has been put into effect that the lake has ever reached the 3-foot level that they requested. So, you know, they began to realize pretty quick that, you know, there was something here that was missed.
Maybe it'd be nice, seeing as you've got that packet already together, maybe it would be nice to take that and Owen's letter and put it on a packet on our website. So if people have questions, concerns about the lake, they can go back and kind of see the history. And maybe that'll, I know there's a lot of rumors, misunderstandings, misinformation out there, and if there's a source where we can direct people to get the right information, maybe that'll help alleviate some of this too.
We even gave her the drawings that we had gotten on the gates too.
Yep.
And if you want to believe it, I made a comment to these people. I said, you know, your in-office communication is non-existent. Because we had a permit to fix the boat launch that had to be done by October 1st. These two people couldn't even begin to understand why it had to be done by October 1st. They said, what difference make, October 1st or November 1st? I said, I don't know, but that's when our permit ran out. That's why we had to get the water down in the lake.
Yep.
So then Owens tried to explain to them, and, you know, the three of them, they might as well have been talking some foreign language, because nobody knew exactly what was going on, you know? They didn't know what was going on, so they didn't understand why that boat launch had to be done. And the last thing is, tonight, Inland Fisheries and Wildlife was up there with some specimens for the lake, so they backed down the boat ramp, and these two gentlemen were from one of the fish hatcheries, and they thought that worked out just great. They backed right out into deep water and discharged their occupants, and everybody was happy.
Even the fish?
5 pounds.
5-pound fish? Wow.
They were out of their,
Breeder thing?
display.
We'll drive by tomorrow morning, there'll be
100
30
fishermen
30
out there,
fishermen lining the shores with,
I don't think they do that this time of year.
All right. Thanks, Lynn.
I think too that, I know Gordon's concerned and everybody else is concerned with the talk, but, you know, we have people in town here, that's all they live for. To stir up the pot, you know, and don't take them too serious. I mean, be transparent, do what we have to do, but, you know, don't get worked up.
Even with Doug causing the earthquake.
That's right.
That's right.
3 people isn't 300.
I just think that so often people will, you know, they cast out aspersions against something, and, you know, public officials seldom respond to the negativism, and I think that it's about time that we ought to respond and say, look, if you have a question, why don't you call town hall and get the facts, instead of listening to somebody over morning coffee at one of the shops about how we had some giant machine in here that drilled a hole underneath the dam. I mean, or that the lake tilted because of the earthquake.
They don't want the facts, God.
I mean, some things are so
They want the
ridiculous on
action
its
that
face.
they get from Gavin.
The disbursement of the water caused the earthquake.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what was the one out in Canada, British Columbia. I wonder what caused that one. All right, let's move on to new business. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We still got some reports. Selectmen's report?
Had the first meeting of the York County Budget Committee last Wednesday night. The commissioners earlier in the evening had approved 2 budgets, one a 6-month budget that will cover July 1 to December 31st of 2012, and the second that will cover, yeah, I've got that backwards. One budget is going to cover our 12-month span, and then one's going to cover a 6-month span to bring them into a fiscal year in line with us. Some of the discussion that we had surrounding that was how our municipalities feeling about the transition to a fiscal year from a calendar year. And, you know, there was a lot of discussion that it seems like a lot of the committee members were in favor of that, but we'll be looking for feedback from their communities on how the communities as a whole feel. I think I feel pretty confident in saying that we support going to a fiscal year. I know we've talked about it before. The next question is going to be, how is that going to be dispersed for funds from the communities? There's discussion that if the county government would bill in 6-month increments, then nobody would have to take out a loan or borrow funds to pay that extra year. But we're going to ask the county commissioners and the manager for some more details on what they plan to offer to the communities for the pay-in. Our next meeting will be on November 2nd, November 7th, and by then we'll have the county budgets.
Now, to do a month or two ago about the setup of the budget committee and stuff, has that ever been a problem? I mean, has that been put to bed or what?
Yes and no. I mean, the county commissioners acknowledged that the members that were elected at the caucus call by the municipalities would be the seated members of the budget committee. But they took it a step further and sent out a notice that said, in the future, the county commissioners will call the caucus and will chair the caucuses. There's still disagreement that they have the right to do that, but I think at this point it's kind of like, all right, we won the first battle, it's done, let's get through the budget process, and then if that's something that we're going to need to address again next year, look at it, but for now, let's get through the budget process.
Okay, good idea. I'd like to just follow up and thank Nancy and Doug and Owen, and I thought they did a great job of putting this information together on the outflow, transition, whatever you want to call it. It's too bad it had to be done, but it was handled very nicely, so thank you.
Owen did a really good job, because he had been there from,
It's a good segue into Nancy's report.
yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to, we had the opportunity during the Selectmen's report here, is to extend grateful thanks to the work that the public service people did in town, the road commissioner and the fire department, for all that they did during this period of bad weather. I've heard some comments from people about the code red system and you know, how they really appreciate getting those updates from the fire chief. I know that it goes through regular phone, cell phone, text messaging, and through the email, and so I think it's a really good service that the town has, and I know that a lot of people appreciate it and have commented positively about it. So I think that even though the chief couldn't make it tonight, that certainly his crew and everything is well appreciated, those things that they did.
Now, did he say there was a couple of snafus on the telephones? What was that comment?
They were
Oh,
having
the
trouble
town
with the email.
email.
The
No,
email
he was having trouble with
He was.
Email.
the
Oh,
email and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm impressed being over there and watching the day before, all the preparation that goes on. So it happened, and we were lucky that we have quite a few outages, but we didn't have some of the disasters we've had in the past here with severe weather. We got out of this one fairly well. However, they were really prepared. Extra people were put on. I went over there around 8 o'clock last night, and there were 9 people ready to go, and they were going. I mean, they were out and clearing trees and things like that off the road, but it was all set up in advance, and the code red is a nice, real nice service to people in town. They feel, I think they, people have talked about feeling cared for, feeling that the town is planned.
Good. Anything else from the selectmen? Go ahead, Nancy.
Just got a couple of things. I have, all the budget requests have been sent out. And right now I am very busy with, under correspondence that you have, number 3. There is a list of information that is being requested. That will be taking up a lot of time.
That is quite a lengthy request.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure that will take some time.
Under item 3.
Yeah, the correspondence. And
I think it has to be answered by November, what was it, 10th or 11th? It's first week or 2 of November it has to be answered.
And just as a point of information, before we move on, as of 7:10 this evening, there is still 439 services out in Waterboro, according to the CMP outage report. So out of 3,750 services, there's 439 that are still out. And it looks as though most of those may very well be up in Lake Arrowhead area. Although Middle Road. Anyway, okay, let's move on. We already took care of item 1. Item 2, discuss a vote to approve a 1-year blanket letter of approval from the state games of chance. This goes back to a discussion we had a few weeks ago from the Waterboro Eagles. They originally asked for a 3-year letter of approval or blanket approval. I think they've, in the discussions that I had with Tina, was that why the board is somewhat reluctant to do that, because we lose kind of the ability to prevent a license from happening. We then get into the, no, we have to go now, take a license away if something happens. So I think they've now moved back to the 1 year. What that does is it allows them not to come to us on a weekly or a monthly basis if in fact they decide to run their Texas Hold'em tournaments or whatever the case may be. The other ones are for a year, but I think this really affects the Texas Hold'em or the card games more than it does anything else. So what's your pleasure here?
I would move that we approve the 1-year application as they requested, with the caveat that it becomes null and void should there be any criminal activity that has taken place in terms of illegal gambling operations or something of that nature. As long as everything is held the way that it should be, then it would be appropriate.
I'll second it.
Oh, isn't that part of the
Well,
license?
it's part of the licenses is that they have to meet the provisions of 17 M.R.S.A. 13A, which are games of chance, etc., which I think has a provision if in fact they are hit with illegal things, that in essence null and voids it as well. But I think it's appropriate that we've got it in there. That's the condition of the motion. So, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Discuss a vote on the 2 committee appointments. Sandy has left us for the evening, but she stuck around for a while. So, do I have a motion on one or both?
I move we accept both applicants for the committees. Sandy Jorgensen on the community garden and Julie Cow on the 2020.
I'll second that.
Any discussions? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, moving right along. The last thing that we've got for business here tonight is to discuss and review the local referendum questions that are on the ballot. And if you've already voted, then you've already made up your mind, and this discussion won't change it at all. If you haven't voted, then this might be information for you. So there are 3 referendum questions that you will face when you come to vote at the presidential election. This is strictly for municipality. You will have a separate ballot for this. Question 1, and we do have the road commissioner here if there's any questions, but shall the capital expenditure not to exceed $500,000 be approved for the purpose of constructing and equipping a winter sand and salt shed on the town of Waterboro property located at Bennett Hill Road? Said cost to be financed or reimbursed by the issuance of general obligation bonds and or notes of the town, hereby authorizing in a total aggregate principal amount of $500,000, such date, maturity, denominations, etc. And other details as the municipal offices shall determine. There's 2 recommendations, one for the Board of Selectmen ought to pass, and then the Finance Committee recommendation, which is printed on the ballot, is no recommendation due to lack of information. In the preamble to this, not to confuse it, but there is a financial statement that is submitted and required by law to be submitted by the town treasurer. So, any questions or other information that anyone would like to add? I think this is something that we've had some discussions on in the current budget. We do have monies appropriated to do some of the engineering work, and then this would be in addition and above and beyond that. So if you have questions, if you're out there watching this tonight, and David's gonna try to clip this one little segment of this meeting so that it can be replayed. If you have any questions, feel free to call any one of us on the board or town administrator here at the town office. So,
And just to kind of go along with that, one of the benefits of having the salt shed would be that currently our salt is exposed to the elements, so as it rains, we have wash off. So this is going to save the town money in that we're not going to be losing salt to the elements, and it's also going to be environmentally friendly because we won't have the salt wash out dispersing further out. It'll be in a contained area. So.
Which is probably more important than losing the salt.
Yep.
So there's really 2 benefits, right? I mean, economic benefits. The recipe, if you will, of taking raw salt and mixing it with sand gets reduced dramatically because it's not exposed to the weather. And number 2, once it's exposed to the weather, it's not sitting in a pile where rain or whatnot can wash that salt out. So there's a 2-fold benefit to protecting not only the sand, the salt, which today the pure salt we keep in a shelter, but once it's mixed with the sand, it's open to the elements.
Yeah, once it leaches out, it's pretty hard to get it back.
Yeah, you can't.
You know?
Commissioner Foglia.
Plan, if you want to look at it, probably is not necessary. I think there's 2 major benefits to this. One, we can decrease our salt sand mixture by about 50%. The state recommends 90 pounds to the yard. We use between 175 and 200 pounds to the yard because of dilution that gets rained on. At that rate, we can save $12,500 a year in initial cost, which over the life of the bond, if it's 10 years, would be $125,000. The second, and I think quite important, is the town of Waterboro has so-called contaminated pits, which we can all agree probably aren't contaminated anyway, never were. But this will cause those to be reclaimed in a DEP-approved application and put that to rest and remove that cloud from the town of Waterboro. And I think that's very important. I think we're making the good use of our land. We're cutting down the salt content that we're just leaching into the ground up around our gravel area, and it's going to clean up the pits. So I think it has a lot of benefits, and it'll also increase our efficiency, because the amount of lost product up there every year, you have to put up at least 15 to 20% more product that you got to cover the loss you have from freeze up, from it getting gritty, and you just lose all the way around. I think this is a win-win situation, which is 20 years past due. Any questions?
No, I think we're all set on that one. Question 2, which you'll be faced with when you get into the voting booth, is shall the town authorize an appropriation of $22,000 from surplus for the installation of 4 water hydrants along New Dam Road for the purpose of fire suppression? Again, there's 2 recommendations on the ballot, one from the Board of Selectmen, which say ought to pass, and one from the Finance Committee, which also says ought to pass. The reason this is at referendum is that the Lake Arrowhead folks got to us a bit late after last year's budgeting season. But above and beyond that, this is a fairly significant move to add some level of fire protection in that area. So we felt it was important enough to put it to referendum this November. Should this happen, the town will pay for the installation and the hardware of the hydrants. There is a memorandum of understanding that has been worked out between the town, Lake Arrowhead, and the fire chief, so that of how these will be maintained and whose responsibility is and whatnot. So that will come into play once there's an approval and they're installed. So, anything else on the hydrants, folks?
Just so there's no misunderstanding, these will not be just for Lake Arrowhead use. Fire department can tap into these hydrants for any areas up in the North Waterboro, including if they need to get water to pump into tankers to haul to other fires. So this is going to be a benefit not only for the residents of Lake Arrowhead community, but for all of North Waterboro.
And Lake Arrowhead is a part of Waterboro.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you get the Weber Road and Chadlin Ridge Road.
So it's
To be
not
effective.
an exclusivity of just that. And the difference a little bit between the hydrants that are in the Waterboro Water District. Waterboro Water District is a public drinking water system that is controlled, and their rates are controlled by the PUC, which is why the town of Waterboro has to, if we use that for fire suppression, we are responsible for 1/3 of the operating costs of the water district. Because that water district is a private system, even though it's a public drinking water system, they do not sell water. That water is built into their fee structure, so we will not pay a rental fee, if you will, for these hydrants. Anything else on 2? Lastly, and probably more importantly, question 3 is a very simple one-line referendum. Shall the town approve the charter revisions recommended by the Charter Commission as summarized below? And there is a fairly lengthy summarization of what those revisions include. I don't think there is the recommendations just didn't get printed on this sheet.
They don't have to be on that.
Okay, so there's
Only
no
financial.
recommendation on the charter revision by the board or the finance committee. We do have Todd Abbott, who is the chair of the Charter Review Commission. Anything you want to add or talk about, or?
No, unless you're gonna go into more detail about what's on there.
Well, I can at least hit the highlights if there's anything that anybody wants to add. Town administrator, the revision provides for a change to the town administrator's duties. The name will stay as the town administrator, but the administrator will now serve as town clerk, tax collector, town treasurer, and administrator of a general assistance. Town administrator will serve as the administrative head of the town, and shall be responsible for its daily operations, including the appointment, removal, and oversight of town personnel, other than those for whom a different express provision is made in the charter. So within the charter, there are some other definitions of town employees who are hired separately. Won't get into all of that detail. The Board of Selectmen will continue to serve as the town's executive body and shall be responsible for the establishment of town policy. So this is a fundamental change to where we're headed, where the town administrator shall run the town of Waterboro, other than establishment of town policy. And want to add anything to that? Town meeting. A revision eliminates the requirement of a quorum to convene a town meeting for the purpose of election of a moderator. Current requirement is for a quorum of 25 to remain in place for the purpose of convening the proportion of the town meeting. This really was addressed for, as we open the polls for town meeting, which is done now typically during a state election, a state primary. There's still a requirement within the current charter that we have 25 people before we can convene that meeting. This eliminates that need. It also, in this article, it gets into some other requirements of when articles have to be done, and the town meeting warrant has to be posted, et cetera, et cetera. So there is some other detail in this, but one of the things, bigger impacts, at least from an administrative perspective, is we can at least get the polls open a little quicker and easier during the establishments of the voting days. Anything else on that? Board of Selectmen, the revision clarifies the powers and duties of the Board of Selectmen. It requires that compensation for the selectmen shall be established by a separate town meeting warrant article each year. The board shall meet at least twice a month. Also, the board shall post, including electronic notification, an agenda at least by the Friday prior to the regular scheduled board meetings. Special and emergency meetings shall include electronic notification to the public. There should be a vice chair elected by the board who will serve as in the absence or disability of the chair. Board of Selectmen shall be responsible for the conduct of an independent annual audit with the provisions from the current Selectmen's policy for annual budgeting, financial review, and audit schedule adopted July 19, 2011, incorporated as part of the charter. Keeps the Board of Selectmen intact. It does break out the in a separate warrant article, but I think we go into the administrative article now, right? We've been including that. So we'll break out the payment of the Board of Selectmen. We, for those of you that follow this on a regular basis, know that the first meeting of the board in the new fiscal year, we elect a chair. In the absence of that chair, we always have to, at that meeting, that individual meeting, elect a chair pro tem to conduct a meeting and whatnot. This revision will allow us to elect a vice chair at the very beginning of the year, and that vice chair will reside in the absence of the chair. Anything on that? Further clarification?
Just a clarification on the meeting, it said they'll meet at least twice a month.
Yep.
Now we meet 4 times a month as it is.
Yep. So at least
So
twice a month.
Okay, we're not changing it so that we're only gonna meet twice a month.
There is no change from the current charter in that, the current charter said to not elaborate on that and make it mandatory that you do the 4 that you're currently doing, but we need to make sure that you continue to at least meet twice.
I just didn't want the townspeople to be confused, thinking that we were gonna just have 2 meetings a month.
Absolutely, but it was the way the charter was currently written, and we didn't feel a need to change it.
There's a provision in this revision with regards to Regional School Unit 57, in that the revision recognizes the town's membership in Regional School Unit 57 and provides for the nomination, election, and filling of vacancies in the membership of town's representatives to the Board of School Directors. Anything else on that? I think we've had there, but there is a connection between the state law that covers the Board of Directors, but I think this at least recognizes them as part of the charter. Road Commissioner. This revision changes the position of Road Commissioner from an elected to an appointed Public Works Director, and will direct and oversee all aspects of Public Works Department, plan, organizes, implements, and supervises activities related to the municipal roads, parks, buildings, and ground maintenance, as well as waste management operations. So this is probably one of the biggest structural changes that we see, other than the changes of responsibility for the town administrator. It takes the current road commissioner's job and makes that to an appointed Public Works Director job. So that now will encompass not only the responsibility for the roads, but in essence all of the town's municipal facilities, be it buildings, parks, transfer station, et cetera, et cetera. Within the law, just so everybody knows, we do have an elected road commissioner who will serve through, if this passes, will serve through the end of his term, which is June 30th, 2014. So this revision will take effect on July 1st of 2013, but the road commissioner's position will not change until the end of that, in the end of his elected term. Doesn't mean that we can't structurally start to change things next July, but it does mean that he does have the right to fulfill his obligation as an elected official.
And I can see some interpretation out there of the road commissioner just stepping into the public works, but that is not a part of the charter. In other words, Doug does not become the public works director automatically.
No, it doesn't automatically. It says,
No.
I mean, ultimately, there's an appointment that has to take place.
Right.
An appointment or hiring that has to take place, basically.
Be an application process.
Right. Anything else on that?
Yeah, I think, just here, what it does is the way I see it anyway, is a hands-on manager, where we have between those parts of the town budget, there's a lot of money that goes into roads, into the transfer station, building and grounds maintenance. There's a lot at stake there. So what it does is it takes that responsibility, that management responsibility, and puts it under one person, and then backs it off under the town administrator. So it's and I think you see it as hands-on too. That this person, you see them on task. They're not sitting in an office in town hall here. They're out there seeing that it happens, and it happens right. But there's a serious management component.
Yeah, instead of having 5,
Yeah.
it'll be 1.
Yeah.
Anything from the commission?
Yeah, I guess, I think it's very nice that you guys are doing this and getting it out to the public for one last chance before election. I think that when our committee looked at this and worked on this project, we tried to look at everything as a whole. We looked at how the current charter was written, how some of the things that we've been hearing from the public. A good number of us that are on the committee served on other committees in the town and have realized that there's certain things that could work better, and what we really tried to do is to make sure that this is gonna work for the town. The town is continuing to grow, our population continues to grow, and the charter was written, you know, over 10 years ago. We're in a different place today than we were 10 years ago, and in 10 more years, we're gonna be in a different place again. So, it's something that needs to be continually updated and continually be looked at. And, you know, I think that, I want to congratulate everybody that was on the committee. We all made most meetings and, had very few absences, and we're very pleased with, what we came up with. Had great involvement with the selectmen, got good feedback from everybody. So, I guess I'd like to say thank you, and hopefully everybody gets out and votes, and I mean, we really did try and structure this so the town is going to be able to run itself, essentially. So, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just comment on the road commissioner
Yeah.
thing. The other piece of the road commissioner, by making it something that's appointed by the municipality as opposed to an elected official, is it gives the town more control over our roads program. Whenever you have a different road commissioner that gets elected, they all tend to do things a different way, have their own vision, and I think having a road commissioner that's hired and appointed by the town allows us to establish consistency from year to year to year to year on what our road program is going to be. My personal opinion on the revisions to the charter, to me, this is the most important component.
Okay. Anything else on the road commissioner? Appointed boards, there's a revision, changes to the number of members on various appointed boards. Taking most of them down from 7 to 5. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Unless otherwise required by state law. The revision creates a new budget committee to replace the existing finance committee, and also creates a new requirement for the transfer station, recycling committee, and conservation commission that weren't identified in the previous charter. Following boards and committees shall be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, goes through the budget committee, planning board, road review committee, zoning board of appeals, etc., etc. So it defines which ones are there. The hiring panel and public safety committee are to be deleted from the mandatory board committee list, and the board and the committee guidelines have been refined. So this just kind of takes, I think, every time you have an opportunity to look at a charter, we look at, gee, how many committees are out there, and how come we have committees that aren't in the charter, and we have committees that are in the charter that we don't have anybody that belongs to them, and these kind of things. So this is just another attempt to try to revise that and bring it in so that it tries to encompass them all. Anything on appointed boards or committees?
Just want to ask on this too, we're finance and budget committee, that the, having been on the finance committee and worked with the finance committee, there has been, it's pretty apparent what now the finance committee does during budget season. They participate and help create a budget along with the administration and the Board of Selectmen. In the off-season, though, it's been, with the Finance Committee, it's been kind of questionable. What do they do? And it's kind of been up to the committees and the certain boards of selectmen as to what sort of responsibilities they have in off-budget season. And do I see here that the Budget Committee, changing it to the Budget Committee, that it's really just focusing on the budget process?
Absolutely.
I think the change, part of the change is that they are going to work on formulating the budget with the town administrator at the time that the budget's being prepared. They're not going to be getting it after the fact, and then, you know, coming back and with yay or nay on certain issues. They'll be at the right at the root of it.
And what that's covered a little bit in the business and financial provisions, which is one of the later items here. So anything else on appointed boards? Initiative and referendum. Revision adds a new last section that prohibits the Board of Selectmen from reenacting ordinances, orders, or resolutions rejected by voters in a referendum election for a period of at least 1 year, and from modifying or repealing ordinances adopted by voters at an initiative elections or for a period of 1 year. So what this says is that the Board of Selectmen, even though they're the executive branch of the town, if the voters say this is what we want, there is a provision that the board can't change that for a year. So
Could wait a year for paper bag, in other words.
well, it eliminates the ability to just willy-nilly do
So
something.
what was the second part of that?
It's the reverse of that.
Okay.
You can't repeal an ordinance adopted by the voters. So if the voters, paper bag is a perfect example. We propose paper bag, if the voters say no, right? The board can't come back here in 6 months and say, we're gonna implement it anyway,
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
If the voters approved paper bag, right? The board can't come back 6 months later and say, we're gonna do away with it.
How
Right,
about
so-
the voters?
The voters can, but this only addresses that the Board of Selectmen cannot reenact or repeal, if you want to look at that. Doug?
You wanna, understand also that this does not stop an initiative by the citizens
Right.
from either going for or against what was voted on at a previous election. An initiative can be formed immediately after either a yay or a nay vote on something and bring it back for a revote.
So
It
this,
just stops the board of
right,
selectmen.
this only addresses the board. If the people decide they want to do something, they have the right to go out and initiate that referendum. Business and financial provisions. Vision defines the term budget year as the fiscal year for which any participating budget is adopted and in which it is administered. Town administrator, with the aid of the budget committee, shall be responsible for the preparation of the preliminary annual budget. So, with the exception of RSU 57. So that kind of goes back to the discussion that we had a few minutes ago of what is the role of the budget committee. And that goes on to the warrants and all of the things that have to be in there. Capital portion of the budget will be reduced from the current 5-year plan to a 3-year plan. So there are some fundamental changes in the budgeting and financing provision. Anything else on that? Recall or revision adds a new article that incorporates the town's current ordinance regarding recall of elected officials. Town has an ordinance that's outside of the charter on how to recall an official. This brings it into the body of the charter, right? So in essence, the ordinance will become moot because the words it'll be incorporated in the charter. And other revisions, clarify, redefine existing provisions, add to the charter several existing ordinances, and the Board of Selectmen policies. So, again, this is one of those things that every 10 years you take a look at the charter. We've done some things by creating individual standalone ordinances or selectmen's policies that will now become part of the charter or the language of the charter and reside within the charter and not as a standalone ordinance. So, any other comments on the referendums? Remember, there's 3 referendums, 3 questions. One deals with, do you want to have the municipality and authorize the municipality go out and bond up to $500,000 for a salt sand shed or building? Number 2 is, do you want to take $22,000 out of unappropriated surplus and install 4 wet hydrants into the Lake Arrowhead water system for the use for fire protection? And the 3rd referendum is strictly on the charter. Approve the revisions or reject the revisions, right? So when you arrive to vote, this isn't just about voting on the national presidential election or the state elections, please take the time to read and understand and make your vote count on the 3 referendums that the town is presenting to you.
Just a note, Mr. Chairman, for everyone out there, they want to be concerned that they have to look at both sides of the ballot because there's stuff printed on both sides. Don't think that all the voting questions are just on one side of that ballot. Be sure to turn them over and look because they're printed on both sides.
And that's not only just ours.
No,
right?
state ballot is too.
So when you arrive to vote, make sure you inspect both sides of, I think you're gonna get 3 ballots, right? The national, or is the national on the, two ballots?
There's 2
okay.
ballots.
So the ballot, presidential, US Senate, representative, and all of the state
On all states.
will be on one ballot. And then, and there's some bond referendums on that too, right? And then the second ballot will be the local municipality ballot. Okay?
Now, people that are not enrolled, can they enroll that day, Nancy? They can.
They have to prove, I think Yvette told me tonight that one of the big hurdles when you enroll
Picture ID.
during the day of election is you have to show proof of residency. Okay? And it can't be just a P.O. box or whatnot. You have to show that you are a resident of the municipality.
So that could be driver's license, birth certificate, no, not birth certificate, but mail.
Yeah,
Mail.
mail. So I think.
That
you-
shows the street address.
Bills. like
Because people
something
don't live in
they call a
post
bill.
office boxes. So it has to be their street address.
And it would help if they came in early to do that, right? I mean, that's a busy time during the election day.
Certainly would reduce the burden of the people that are manning the polls because, you know, a lot of them are volunteers or, you know, and some are paid on the lower end of the pay scale. You know, they do certainly a great deal of work for the town. But
So while we're on the elections, just a reminder again, you can vote early or absentee up until 5 p.m. on Thursday, November 1st. Not sure why it's Thursday, not Friday, but it's Thursday, November 1st, and that's established by state law. So, and 5 p.m. is the absolute drop dead.
And also to go along with the elections, just reminding folks, because this is a presidential election, voter turnout will be high, so we ask people for their patience. There are at least so many ballot clerks. It will be busy. I know in past presidential elections, there have been some long waits, but people just need to be patient, and we'll serve everybody the best we can.
Over 4,000 registered voters in the municipality, and based on what it looks like, there's going to be about 1,000 of them that vote before Tuesday.
Oh, really?
But
I think 2 or 3 days ago, I was in here and they were up over 500, so it's going to be close to 1,000. So, you know, 25% of the people are going to vote.
And I have to understand that there is 4 reasons, only 4 allowable reasons after November 1st. One is an unexpected absence from the municipality during the entire time the polls are open, a physical disability, inability to travel to the polls because the voter is a resident of a coastal inland ward or precinct, or any incapacity or illness that has resulted in the voter being unable to leave home or a treatment facility. There is a form, they have to sign it, and from what we understand, the state will be checking.
so you can still vote absentee after the 1st,
But you have
but
to
you
meet these.
have to meet one of those criteria.
Yes.
All right, anything else on the election? There's no old business tonight. Entertain a motion for to sign warrants with bills and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Minutes of October 23 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
And I'm
Opposed? One
abstaining.
abstains. Pending decisions, the public service announcements, review of the driveway opening permit language, board and committee status, week's action list. I think we're gonna keep this quick next Tuesday night because of the election, but we do have some stuff already on the agenda, right?
Yeah, on that, what's the status of the letter in the old Alfred Road?
You know,
That
the
was
letter
a
on the
new-
old Alfred Road has been discussed, and then that's about as far as we've got it, so
Oh, okay.
we'll make an effort to make sure that we have a draft of that next week.
You want some help with that?
Sure. I just want to, we're trying to pull up the stuff that we've already put together, just so that we can put it
If you
back.
want some help, let me know.
You were gonna say something over there in the corner?
I can't recall anything that I've
Okay.
already got for next week, but.
I was thinking that we put, no, there's a public hearing on November 13th, right? Talk about that. Anything else?
At some time, we need to get to the next place in the administrator's evaluation. The data is complete, and we need to either go over that as a board and then go over it with the administrator too. So I know next week is going to be, we're going to want to get out of here, and Nancy's going to be very busy. So,
Well, do we
so-
want to take 15 minutes or 20 minutes before the meeting and at least
just kind of go through it.
go through it, and then
Yeah.
even though she's not here, and then the following week we can set up to review with, so we'll put that down. Might as well do it at 5:30. Okay? I'm sure something else will come up. Reminders quickly, Conservation Commission, November 1st, 5 p.m. Nothing tomorrow night? No Wednesday meetings this week? The 31st? It's the fifth Wednesday.
It's Halloween.
And it's Halloween tomorrow night, so be very, very careful as you drive around the
A
town
lot of
Right, this
kids
is the
out.
5th.
tomorrow night, because there will be a lot of kids out. A week from today, Election Day, we'll be at the middle school, and again, 7 a.m. the polls open, 8 p.m. sharp they close. Selectmen's meeting will be in this room next week. Saco River Cable and TV Committee will be here. Wednesday, November 7th, York County Community Action Fuel Assistant appointments at the Old Town Hall. You must have an appointment. That number to call is 324-5762. Next Wednesday night here in this room, the Planning Board at 7 p.m. November 8th, you heard Mike talk about it earlier, be I think the last senior luncheon of the year at 11:30 at the Snowmobile Club. November 8th, 7 p.m. Finance Committee meeting at the Old Town Hall. November 10th, 8:30 a.m. Saturday, cribbage tournament in the Old Town Hall. November 12th, which is 2 weeks from yesterday, 5 p.m., the 2020 Master Planning Committee at the Central Fire Station. And Monday at 6 p.m., the Community Gardens Committee meeting over at the Old Town Hall. And then 2 weeks from tonight, Selectmen's meeting, there will be a public hearing, which is an annual meeting, a public hearing to adjust general assistance maximum levels. Reporting will be the transfer station manager, transfer station recycling committee chair, and the eco main rep.
Dennis, do we, the growth on this, can we take that up 2 weeks, or is that too soon?
Yeah, when do we, that's right, we got something from the planning board, so it will be in the packet next week, right, as communications. Is there any reason that we wouldn't or couldn't take this up next Tuesday night? It's really just,
Yeah,
It'd be
We-
kind
we
of nice if somebody from the planning board was here too, in case we had any questions. Although, David, you could probably answer them, couldn't you?
yeah, it'd be nice to, somebody.
so
can
let's put
answer.
that on for next week, to discuss, vote, to schedule, because ultimately, if we're gonna adopt this, they want a thumbs up from us,
Right,
so that they can they can run their public hearing, and then we're gonna have to do a hearing after that, so. So I don't see why we couldn't do that next week.
Great.
Anything else? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Good night.